There is a specific look people give you when they know they can take advantage of you. It is not hate. Hate would imply they see you as a threat. Hate would imply you have power. No. It is indifference. The kind of indifference that quietly erodes your self-worth. The kind that doesn't attack you openly. It simply dismisses you. You've felt it, haven't you? The subtle dismissal when they interrupt your thoughts. The quiet disregard when they take more from you than they ever give in return. And here is the uncomfortable truth. You've allowed it. You've allowed others to treat you as expendable because deep down, you haven't fully claimed your own power. You've mistaken your silence for wisdom. You've mistaken your constant availability for kindness. But what if this isn't strength? What if it's submission? What if the key to true self-respect and real power does not lie in giving more of yourself, but in drawing a firm boundary that others cannot cross? The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that respect is not something you beg for. It is not something you chase. It is something you command through deliberate action, through discipline, through boundaries that protect your peace and your self-worth. Today, you will learn how to stop being taken advantage of, how to reclaim your value, and how to build a life where others respect you. Not because you demand it, but because your behavior leaves them no other choice. When you constantly give yourself away, when you are always the first to say yes, you slowly lose sight of your own worth. You become the person who is always available, always willing, always sacrificing your own priorities for someone else's convenience. On the surface, it may look like kindness, like generosity, like reliability. But beneath that surface, something else is happening. You are fading into the background. Your constant availability makes you predictable, and what is predictable becomes taken for granted. People do not deeply value someone they can walk over. They do not respect someone who is always ready to serve, yet never protects their own time. Here is the uncomfortable reality. When you constantly say yes, you are teaching people that your time has no boundaries. You are sending a message, whether you realize it or not, that your priorities come second. And when you act as if you have no limits, the world will happily treat you as if you don't. Needs. And that you will always be there the moment they call. But the moment you begin to say no, something changes. People start to see you differently. They recognize that you have boundaries, that you respect your time and your energy, that you are no longer willing to bend to every demand placed on you. And it is in that moment, when you begin choosing yourself, that you finally start earning the respect you've been silently craving. This is not selfishness. This is self-respect. Ask yourself, when was the last time you did something because you truly wanted to, not because you felt obligated? When was the last time you declined a request that did not align with your values or your priorities? It's easy to believe that constantly saying yes makes us good people, that we are being supportive, helpful, dependable. But in reality, we may be teaching others to take us for granted. We may be teaching them that our time is always available, that it belongs to them. What if, instead of offering long explanations every time someone asks something of you, you simply said no? What if you didn't feel the need to justify yourself, to over-explain why you couldn't help, to apologize for protecting your own time? There is power in that. No, it is a declaration of your worth. It signals that you have stopped allowing others to control your schedule, your energy, and your direction in life. And the more you practice it, the more you reclaim your power and your peace. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This is the foundation of boundaries. It's not about what others ask of you. It's about how you choose to respond. When you learn to say no, you are not just protecting your time. You are protecting your energy, your mental clarity, your identity. You are no longer reacting to external demands. You are acting with intention. You are making decisions aligned with your principles, not pressure. Stop apologizing for saying no. Stop over-explaining. Your no is not a rejection of someone else. It is a protection of your own well-being. It preserves your peace and your integrity in a world that constantly asks for more than it gives. And something powerful happens when people see that you value your own time. They begin to respect it. They realize your presence is not automatic. It is not guaranteed. It is something earned. When you respect your boundaries, you teach others to respect them too. The key to gaining respect is not measured by how much you give. It is measured by how firmly you protect yourself. When you start prioritizing your needs over unreasonable demands, you will notice a shift. People will no longer casually consume your time, your resources, or your energy. Instead, they will value you for the strength it takes to stand firm. And that respect, it lasts. Remember, this is not about rejecting people. It is not about isolating yourself. It is about creating space for relationships that are built on mutual respect, understanding, and value. When you establish boundaries, you make room for connections that energize you, not exhaust you. You stop being a passive participant in your own life. You become the author of it. And that is where true respect is born. Not from how much you sacrifice, but from how much you value yourself. Your no carries weight. Do not hesitate to use it. Every time you say it with conviction, you are shaping a life aligned with your values and priorities. Stop apologizing for putting yourself first. Start owning your decisions, and you will discover something remarkable. The moment you stop overextending yourself, you begin attracting the respect, the peace, and the relationships that truly matter. There is something incredibly powerful about being scarce. It's a principle most people overlook, yet it exists everywhere in nature and human behavior. The value of something is rarely based only on its qualities. It is often tied to its rarity. Consider a rare gemstone. Its beauty is undeniable. But what truly makes it valuable is its scarcity. If diamonds were available on every street corner, would they still be precious? Of course not. It is the difficulty of obtaining something that gives it weight. The same principle applies to your time, your energy, your attention. If you are always available, always responding immediately, always saying yes, always dropping everything to accommodate others, you begin to dilute your value. Not because you lack goodness, but because you have made your presence unlimited. You've flooded the space with access to you. You've become predictable, and the world rarely respects what feels unlimited. When something feels abundant, it becomes taken for granted. Now imagine something different. What if you stopped responding instantly? What if you took a few days away from social media? What if you disconnected for a while, even briefly? The moment you do, something shifts. People notice. They begin to wonder. Where did they go? What are they focused on? Your absence creates curiosity, and curiosity creates value. When you stop being a permanent fixture in everyone's life, your presence gains weight. People begin to question your availability. They start to realize that your time is not automatic. It must be respected. The dynamic changes. When you return, your presence feels different, more intentional, more valuable, because they understand something now. You are not endlessly accessible. Access to you is not guaranteed. But before anyone else sees your worth, you must recognize it yourself. You must understand that your presence, your attention, your time, these are limited assets. And when you treat them as such, others are forced to do the same. By creating space, you shift roles. You stop being the background character in your own life. You become the central figure. You set the standard. This does not mean isolating yourself. It does not mean becoming cold or unreachable. It means knowing when to step back and when to step forward. It means choosing where your energy goes, instead of letting it be pulled in every direction. When you create that balance, something powerful happens. You create room. room for meaningful relationships, room for real opportunities, room for experiences that actually deserve your focus. And when people realize you are not constantly available, their perception shifts. They respect you more. They understand your time carries weight. Think about the people you respect most. Are they available at every moment? Do they respond instantly to every demand? Or do they have structure, boundaries, a life of their own? Most likely, the people you admire have mastered controlled availability. They have communicated, intentionally or not, that their time is valuable. And because of that, others treat it accordingly. This is not about manipulation. It is not about playing psychological games. It is about honoring your value. It is about establishing boundaries and reinforcing them through action. It is about being selective. And when you are selective, your presence carries impact. When you give your time, it matters. When you give your attention, it feels earned. And when you establish those standards, people adapt. They stop assuming unlimited access. There is undeniable strength in absence. It is a tool for reclaiming your energy, a statement to the world. I will not be endlessly available. I will not operate on demand. I choose when and where I show up. And when you begin living this way, your life shifts. You move from reaction to intention. You stop responding to every external pull. You start setting the terms. So the next time the demands feel overwhelming, pause. Step back. Create distance. Let your silence communicate what your words no longer need to explain. And when you return with authority. You return, you'll notice something different. Your presence feels heavier, more appreciated. People begin to value your time because they understand they do not have unlimited access to it. And that is where your real power begins. Now consider this. How often do you rush to fill silence? It almost feels automatic. The moment a pause appears in conversation, you step in. You add words, you explain, you justify. You smooth things over. Silence feels uncomfortable, doesn't it? Like an awkward gap that must be repaired immediately. But here is the truth. Silence is not weakness. Silence is power. The next time someone interrupts you, cuts you off, or redirects the conversation, do not rush to compete. Do not scramble to reclaim space with more words. Instead, hold your presence. Stay composed. Do not apologize for existing in that moment. Let the silence remain. They will feel it. That pause, that wait, that stillness that makes people suddenly aware. It forces attention. It forces recognition. Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." In this case, the discomfort created by silence reveals something powerful. The irritation you feel in that pause is not weakness. It is tension. And tension signals power being activated. When you resist the urge to fill the void, you assert control. You communicate without speaking. My presence does not need to compete. My space will not be diminished. Silence is not empty. It carries weight. Imagine sitting in a room where everyone is talking, laughing, competing for attention. Energy scattered everywhere. And you remain steady. You do not interrupt. You do not force your voice into the noise. You allow the silence to surround you. And something subtle begins to shift. People notice. Without speaking, you become centered. Grounded. Present. You command attention without demanding it. That is the strength of silence. When you stop over-explaining, stop justifying, stop filling every pause, you regain authority. People begin thinking twice before speaking over you, before dismissing you. That subtle shift is where respect is born. Silence allows you to reclaim the space. You stop being reactive. You become deliberate. Your silence becomes a statement. Now reflect. The people you truly respect, are they constantly speaking? Or do they choose their words carefully? Most likely they speak with intention. They do not rush to defend every thought. They do not scramble for validation. They understand that silence enhances their words. They use it strategically. They speak when it matters. And because of that, their words carry impact. When you stop chasing approval through constant talking, when you begin embracing silence as a tool, something changes. People listen more closely when you finally speak. They pay attention because they understand you do not speak carelessly. You speak with purpose. You do not waste energy on trivial noise. This is how respect is commanded, not through volume, through presence. And here is something even deeper. The more you become comfortable with silence, the more you discover your real voice. It is not the loudest voice in the room that dominates. It is the voice that chooses its timing. The voice that speaks with clarity. The voice that does not need constant validation. The more you allow silence to settle, the more others begin to realize something about you. You are not easily shaken. You are not easily pressured. And you are not desperate to be heard. Easily swayed. Not easily influenced by the noise of the world. You are grounded. You are steady. You are difficult to move. And that stability is strength. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." The same principle applies to your words. Power does not come from endless talking. It comes from restraint, from saying less, yet meaning more. When you choose silence over unnecessary speech, when you allow space instead of filling it, you rise above the noise. You separate yourself from constant chatter. You become the person who stands calm, centered, and intentional. The next time someone interrupts you or attempts to speak over you, pause. Do not rush. Let the silence settle. Observe the room. Feel the shift. Notice how the energy changes. You are no longer competing for attention. You are commanding it. The respect you've been chasing begins to appear the moment you stop chasing it. Silence begins doing the work your words never could. When you control silence, you are not just influencing the room. You are mastering yourself. You are asserting your space, your time, your value, without raising your voice. This is the discipline of silence. It is a tool you use with precision. And when you embrace it, respect stops feeling forced. It starts feeling natural. You no longer need to justify yourself. You no longer need to over-explain. You simply remain present, still, aware. And your silence communicates strength. Now there is another trap many people fall into: people-pleasing. It begins subtly. You want to help. You want to be appreciated. You want to be the reliable one. You believe that by saying yes every time someone asks for something, you are building trust, building connection, building loyalty. But here is the difficult truth. You may not be building anything. You may be exhausting yourself, giving pieces of your time, your energy, your focus, until there is very little left for you. And the harsh reality is this: people rarely value what is constantly available to them. They become accustomed to it. They expect it. And once expectation replaces appreciation, respect fades. When you are consistently taken for granted, something even more dangerous happens. You begin losing respect for yourself, because deep down, you know you are betraying your own boundaries. Now imagine a shift. Instead of automatically saying yes, you pause. You protect your energy. You evaluate. It seems simple, but it is powerful. When was the last time you did something purely because you wanted to? Not because you felt pressure. Not because you feared disappointing someone. When was the last time you placed your well-being above someone else's expectations? These are uncomfortable questions, but necessary ones. The next time someone asks for a favor, pause again. Ask yourself honestly, is this aligned with my priorities? Or am I agreeing simply to avoid discomfort? At first, guilt may surface. That is normal. But that discomfort is not a signal of selfishness. It is a signal of growth. Saying no is not cruelty. It is self-preservation. It is how you protect your peace, your clarity, your emotional stability. It is how you prevent your mental and emotional space from being overrun by demands that do not serve you, constant expectations of others. And here's what you'll begin to notice. The moment you start saying no, something shifts. People begin to look at you differently. Why? Because they recognize that you value your own time and energy. They see that you're not someone who can be stepped on whenever it's convenient. And that realization changes everything. More importantly, you begin to see yourself differently. Seneca once said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." Every time you automatically say yes to everyone else, you are trading away pieces of your limited time. You are investing your energy into things that may not align with your purpose or your inner peace. Each unnecessary yes costs you something you can never recover. But the moment you choose to say no, you begin reclaiming that lost ground. You begin honoring your own priorities. You begin recognizing that your time, your focus, and your peace deserve protection. This is not about arrogance. It's not about abandoning people. It's about establishing clear boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to shut people out. They are lines that define where you end and others begin. Without them, you will constantly overextend yourself, constantly sacrifice your own needs, and eventually you will find yourself depleted. And when you are depleted, you cannot show up fully for anyone, especially not for yourself. It may sound blunt, but it's necessary to understand. The people who are truly respected, the ones who carry quiet authority, are the ones who understand the value of their time. They guard it carefully. They do not allow it to be consumed by every request or demand that comes their way. When you begin to protect your energy with that same discipline, something powerful happens. You no longer feel exhausted by other people's expectations. You no longer feel as if your life is being directed by someone else's agenda. Instead, you regain control. You start making decisions intentionally, based on what aligns with your growth and values, not simply on what keeps others comfortable. Saying no is an act of self-respect. When you say no, you are declaring, "My time matters, my energy matters, I matter." You are communicating to the world that you will not allow your life to be dictated by external pressures. And that is strength. Some people may react negatively at first. They may try to question your choice. They may attempt to make you feel guilty. But often, their discomfort is simply a reaction to the fact that they can no longer take advantage of your unlimited availability. You have shifted the dynamic. And that is when genuine respect begins to form. This is not selfishness, it is balance. When you protect your energy, the help you choose to give becomes intentional. It comes from a place of strength rather than exhaustion. You become more present in meaningful moments. You can serve your strength for situations that truly deserve your attention. But this requires awareness. You must stop acting as if your time is endless. You must stop committing to everything out of fear of disappointing others. You must learn to decline without attaching shame to it. Because here is the truth. You cannot pour from an empty cup. If you continuously give without restoring yourself, burnout is inevitable. And when burnout arrives, everyone suffers, you included. So here is the challenge. Begin saying no with clarity. Begin placing value on your own priorities. It may feel uncomfortable in the beginning. You may question yourself. You may feel a pull of guilt. But understand this. This discomfort is the doorway to strength. And stepping through that doorway is the beginning of reclaiming your power, reclaiming your life. It marks the beginning of safeguarding your peace, your 2310, energy, and your self-worth. You'll be surprised at how much respect begins to grow, not just from others, but from within yourself. The moment you stop trying to please everyone, you begin learning how to protect yourself. And when you start protecting yourself, you start living with clarity and intention. So pause and ask yourself, when was the last time you declined something that didn't align with your values? When was the last time you chose your own needs over someone else's expectations? Begin there. Begin today. Guard your time, guard your energy, and by doing so, you'll slowly construct a life that truly mirrors your worth. You'll become someone who earns respect, not through intimidation, but through the quiet strength of clear boundaries. Now think about this. How often do you find yourself defending your decisions, offering explanations, providing long justifications for why you chose a certain path or drew a specific line? It's something many people fall into, especially when they're worried about how they're being perceived. We feel pressured to clarify ourselves, to soften our choices, to make sure everyone else feels comfortable with the decisions we've made. But here's the reality. Every time you over-explain, you dilute your authority. You subtly invite others to debate your choices. You unintentionally suggest that their approval holds more weight than your own certainty. A disciplined person does not constantly defend their decisions. They don't feel compelled to explain every boundary they establish or every direction they choose. When they say no, they don't attach a paragraph of reasoning behind it. They say it calmly, and they stand by it. Their word carries weight. Their consistency speaks louder than any justification ever could. This is where real strength exists, not in persuading others to agree with you, but in holding firm to your decisions regardless of how they're received. Think about the individuals you truly admire. Do they spend their time apologizing for who they are? Do they continuously justify their standards or explain every move they make? Most likely not. The people you respect most are often the ones who don't seek constant validation. They operate from inner certainty. They have built a foundation of self-respect that does not depend on outside approval. Their decisions are guided by internal principles, not by fear of judgment. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." His words remind us that we don't need to constantly defend our character. We don't need to persuade the world of our value. The moment we begin endlessly justifying our choices, we start weakening our own authority. We begin second-guessing ourselves. We allow doubt to creep in where conviction once stood. And that is the subtle way power slips away. The truth is this: you don't need anyone's permission to live the life you've chosen. You are the authority in your own story. You don't owe apologies for setting boundaries, for saying no, or for choosing a path that aligns with your principles. Every time you give in to the urge to over-explain yourself, you hand over the steering wheel of your life. Even if only for a moment, you allow others to question your direction, challenge your standards, and slowly chip away at your authority. And here's what most people don't realize. Many of those who demand explanations aren't asking out of genuine curiosity or care. Often they are testing your certainty. They are looking for cracks in your confidence. They want to see if you'll second-guess yourself. When you rush to justify your decisions, you unknowingly strengthen that dynamic. You signal that their approval carries more weight than your own conviction. But the moment you stop explaining unnecessarily, everything changes. You regain control. You reclaim your ground. You allow your decisions to stand on their own strength, without defense, without apology. When you say no, let it come from clarity, not guilt. Let it be rooted in what serves your growth, not in fear of disappointing someone else. Allow your actions to speak for you. Hold your position and let the world adjust to your standards. You do not owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace, your energy, or your time. As you begin standing firmly in your choices, you'll notice a shift in how people respond. The tone changes, the dynamic changes. People begin to approach you differently. They start recognizing that you are someone who makes decisions with intention and stands by them. Those who genuinely value you will respect your clarity. They will appreciate your consistency. The ones who only benefited from your hesitation will slowly fade away, realizing they can no longer move you at will. This doesn't mean becoming rigid or ignoring constructive feedback. It means releasing the need for validation. It means no longer waiting for unanimous approval before taking action. There will always be disagreement. There will always be people who question your direction or try to influence your choices. But disagreement does not mean you must surrender your stance. The only voice that ultimately governs your life is your own. Once you truly understand that, you stop outsourcing your power. You stop adjusting your identity to match other people's expectations. You begin living in alignment with who you actually are. And something powerful happens when you consistently stand firm. Decision-making becomes easier. The internal noise quiets down. The second-guessing weakens. You begin trusting yourself more deeply, knowing you are capable of choosing what serves your highest good. You no longer let the fear of judgment dictate your behavior. Instead, you operate from inner certainty, a calm, steady knowing that you are in control of your direction. At first, this shift may feel uncomfortable. You might worry that others will see you as harsh or distant, but that discomfort is simply fear losing its grip. It is the fear of finally asserting your worth. Over time, that discomfort fades. Confidence replaces it. You become stronger in your ability to decide and remain steady regardless of external pressure. And with that strength comes peace. You stop living to meet expectations. You start living in alignment with yourself. This journey isn't about stubbornness or isolation. It's about recognizing your value and refusing to let anyone diminish it. It's about trusting your judgment enough to act without constant reassurance. The more you practice standing firm, the more natural it becomes. You begin moving with purpose and quiet authority, aware that you are responsible for your own destiny. And when you stand firm consistently, the respect you've been chasing begins to arrive on its own. Not because you demanded it, not because you forced it, but because you embodied it. You've shown the world that you cannot be easily swayed, that you are not available for manipulation, that you understand your worth. And that is the highest form of respect. When you begin living with discipline, something remarkable unfolds. Your life gains structure, it gains direction, it gains presence. You are no longer reacting impulsively to every external stimulus. You begin making deliberate choices about what truly matters. And in doing so, you send a clear message. You are the priority in your own life. This doesn't mean isolation. It doesn't mean shutting people out. It means refusing to place everyone else above yourself. It means balance. It means self-respect. It means finally understanding that honoring yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Fall into the pattern of overextending ourselves for people who don't truly value us. We do it because we want approval, because we're afraid of being rejected, because somewhere deep down we believe that if we give more, we'll finally be appreciated more. But in that pursuit, we slowly disconnect from our own worth. When you are constantly giving, constantly placing everyone else's needs above your own, you silently teach the world that your time, your energy, and your peace rank lower than theirs. You become the problem solver, the rescuer, the one who is always available. Yet you neglect your own well-being. And what message does that send? The truth is, when your life is not anchored in your own values, you betray yourself. And over time, others begin to treat your availability as an entitlement rather than a gift. They assume your time belongs to them. They expect you to show up according to their convenience without ever questioning what it costs you internally. This is where discipline becomes essential. Discipline means you've drawn clear lines. It means you've made conscious decisions that protect your well-being. It means you refuse to let external demands define your value. Discipline is not punishment, it is structure. It is the framework that holds your life together. It is the intentional design of a life built around what you truly believe in. When you start placing yourself first, it isn't selfishness. It's wisdom. It signals that you operate with standards, that there is a level of respect required to access your time and energy. That standard doesn't need to be extreme or exclusive. It simply needs to be defined. It's about understanding what you accept and what you no longer tolerate, and then living in alignment with that clarity. If you continuously give your time, your focus, your presence without boundaries or reciprocity, you will eventually feel exhausted and invisible. But when you construct a life worth protecting, when you establish boundaries and prioritize what genuinely matters, the respect you've been chasing begins to arrive naturally. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Becoming who you truly are requires courage. It requires building a life that mirrors your deepest principles. It means taking ownership of your happiness, your growth, and your emotional stability. It means placing yourself at the center of your own life. Not in arrogance, but in self-respect. When you begin showing up for yourself in this way, something shifts. The world responds differently. People sense your clarity. They recognize that your time carries weight, that your energy is valuable, that your peace is not negotiable. And when they see that, respect follows. This transformation isn't about one bold confrontation or a single act of assertiveness. It's about consistency. It's about shaping each day in a way that reflects your standards. It's about creating routines that strengthen you, building relationships that uplift you, setting goals that stretch you toward the person you are meant to become. Small disciplined choices, repeated daily, compound into powerful change. Over time, you construct a life filled with meaning and direction. A life that commands respect because it is rooted in your truth. And as you begin to respect your own life, something remarkable happens. You stop chasing validation. You stop obsessing over whether people approve. You stop measuring your worth by external reactions. You realize that the only approval you truly require is your own. You step fully into the role of authority in your own existence. And that authority comes from living in harmony with what matters most to you. When you live like this, others quickly understand that your time is not disposable. Your energy is not something to be drained casually. Your presence is not something they can summon at their convenience. And as you continue walking this path, you'll begin to notice something powerful. Powerful. The people who genuinely respect you will begin rising to meet your standards. They'll start showing up in ways you may have never experienced before. They'll understand that being in your life isn't automatic. It requires contribution, effort, and mutual respect. They won't take you lightly because they'll recognize that you value your time, your energy, and your inner peace. And those are the people worthy of standing beside you. The ones who honor you for who you truly are, not for the version of you that was shaped by fear or conditioning. Building a life worth protecting demands consistency. It requires daily effort. It means forming habits that strengthen you, choosing relationships that elevate you, and making decisions that align with your deeper purpose. It's not always comfortable. It's not always applauded. But it is the only path toward authenticity. It's the only way to stop feeling exhausted, overlooked, and stretched thin. When you construct a life you genuinely respect, you create the foundation for a life others will respect as well. So ask yourself, what kind of life are you shaping right now? Are you living by your principle or constantly adjusting to satisfy others? Are you honoring your needs or allowing others to take more than they give? Your life is yours to design. And when you begin living with discipline, when you start placing your well-being at the center, you'll notice a shift in the people around you. Respect will begin to appear in ways you never anticipated. Not because you demanded it, but because it naturally follows a life that carries structure and self-respect. But understand this, the road to true discipline is not comfortable. If comfort is what you seek, this path will challenge you. Growth does not unfold in ease. It is shaped in discomfort. And that discomfort is not something to escape. It is something to embrace. It's tempting to imagine discipline as something smooth, something that seamlessly fits into your daily routine. But real discipline is forged in resistance. It is built in the moments when every instinct urges you toward the easier option. It is when you feel the pull to give in and choose not to. That growth begins. Every time you say no, every time you prioritize your own standards, every time you set a boundary others are not accustomed to, you will feel tension. You will sense the discomfort of disapproval. You will feel the unease of stepping outside familiar patterns. That reaction is natural. We are wired to seek acceptance, to avoid conflict, to maintain harmony. But growth does not come from comfort. It comes from choosing your peace over temporary approval.